Hey up, back at you again. Got Kyle here. There we go, panoramic. It looks better.
Alright.
So this is the 5-ton crawler hauler. It had
This cab.
yeah, there it is. There's the cab. The bed is laying right there, and then there's that. That has been repurposed. I'll explain all that later. So we took it out for its first test run without the snowplow on it. There's the snowplow. You would have seen this in my last video where I did a shop update and kind of briefly showed you. I may have a couple of videos on it. I'm pretty sure I do. But so we took it out for a test run, and I had, which you can't tell now, I already took the thing off of it. This was an axial 45 turn factory
Motor.
yeah, factory motor, and running it on 3S. I know they can handle 3S, but with this rig as heavy as it is, I mean, this thing weighs a lot.
I'm gonna say in the neighborhood of maybe 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, it
was a heavy girl.
For anybody who runs scale, you're gonna call me stupid and nuts for running a rig that big, but I'm not trying to be scale either. That's my scale rig, and that's about as far as it goes. But anyway, so we took this out for a test run, and it was not even really torquey. It was, you were having to put it underpowered is definitely an understatement. We were having to put in so much throttle for it to do anything, just because it was so heavy, and that's part of the testing. I didn't know what this motor was going to do, and I was pretty sure it was going to fry eventually. Well, it fried in the matter of like 20 minutes, and I mean, it let the smoke out.
It still smells nice and right.
I bet it does. God, you look country as shit.
Yeah, so
you worse.
Yeah,
That big old beard. Not big, but the country beard. Anyways,
beard, the flavor saver.
Yeah, the flavor saver. But so it let the smoke out for sure, because it
Literally
died.
smoke.
I mean, it stopped at one point, or I stopped it. I let off the throttle because it got stuck in some real tall grass, and when I shined my light on it, because it's dark, it's currently 4:30 in the morning. We've been working on this since about 2 o'clock. Oh man, I can't even see that. Look in the camera here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So
White balance for the win.
we'll tell you about that and why that's there. I'm getting there. So I was trying to figure out what I could do for a motor, and I was like, with the weight of this thing, I want to go brushless censored, and I didn't know how well a 10th scale motor would do in this, so I figured an 8th scale motor. So I looked up the 8th scale motor plate, and there's a company that makes one. It's like $18. It's not bad, but I don't have $18. So my brother, being the person he is, was like, let's see what we can do to fix it right now.
All right. Let me take over from here, because this is kind of.
This was your idea.
This is my brainchild.
I had nothing to do with this other than cutting. So this and where I had to cut was his fault. So I'll let.
Yeah. So y'all are gonna scream and yell at us in the comments, but frankly, I don't give a damn. So this to me is. It's making do with what we have.
It's engineering.
Yes. So, granted, none of this is permanent. All right.
Well, it sort of
Well,
is.
it's semi-permanent.
Half of it's permanent. The other half is not.
So
And you're gonna
you know,
cry. I'll warn you now.
Yeah.
Let's just start up front. Just
Squeamish people, click off now. So anyway, so what I decided was
lift.
I will.
Yeah, just half.
So what I decided was, let's see what we have around here. And I had my Summit that I just recently acquired. I pulled the Titan 775 out of it.
Yep. Stock motor.
And put in a DeWalt motor, and that's another story. So I grabbed this motor, and I looked at it with the cab still on it and the bed removed, and I looked at Gary and went, too bad we can't fit this under here. I have an idea. Bear with me. We're going to figure it out. So it's zip tied at the moment. Hold on, let me make sure I don't expose too much. So we've got the Titan 775 right here, zip tied in place.
Just for figuring out motor placement.
All right, let's see. Can you see that any better now? All right,
There
so
we go.
this is going to be our motor plate, crudely drawn. What it's going to do is it's going to attach on the chassis here, on the chassis rails.
Where I had
And
my
it's-
chassis brace.
And it's going to come up and allow the motor to bolt to it.
But it's basically going to be kind of like the Toizuki forward motor mount Yeah, that's basically what it's going to be, is a Toizuki motor mount.
Yeah, but me being in class right now for machining, I have access to a CNC machine, so I can have it made. I have a one-off part made. So we're figuring it out. We wanted to mount a motor up front, but we needed a way to drive it with our gear reduction, you know, with our pinion and spur gears,
without going through the trouble of making an 8 scale sized Toizuki motor mount.
Yeah,
because we need them. We also need that motor to sit kind of low, like it is. I don't need to sit up high because I don't have a lot of room. I do have a good bit of room in here,
side to side, but up and down
there's really not a lot. Limited. Yeah.
So I got to looking around, and I looked at Gary and said, "All right, do we have any of my old Slash drive shaft pieces laying around?" And
this is from his old Slash 4-wheel drive. You've seen it on my channel.
We've got the old pieces here,
and these are the where the Traxxas
upgraded
Traxxas Slash drive shafts for the 4-wheel drive, and they did not hold up very long.
So what I noticed about them was that end right there is a 5 mil.
5 mil input.
So if we peel back the curtain a little bit more, we can see my input right there.
Straight to the motor.
Straight to the motor. We cut down the shaft.
Hold on. Here. You can see how much we kind of cut down there. We basically cut it down to the splines.
I'd say maybe 3 mil past that bottom ring on it. Let me see.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 mil
basically
past the bottom ring.
The thickness
of about where my thumbnail is.
Yeah, about the thickness of a of our bandsaw blade.
More or less.
Yeah.
So we cut that. I haven't actually showed Gary this. I took one of these shafts, and the end of it's still left in the vise there from where I cut it.
See that? What'd you cut it with?
The hand hacksaw.
Okay.
I cut it about right there. Have one end slipped down and stopped up against it in there.
Okay.
And still enough spline to engage in this one. So, because we were thinking about welding it, and I just didn't like the idea of it.
I might eventually weld it. I might find somebody to TIG weld it for me. I don't know.
I don't like the idea because we're going to introduce some heat in there and all that, and I think this will be just fine.
I mean, we'll have to see what it does.
Yeah, we'll see what it does.
If it slips or strips for some reason or cracks,
yeah,
then I'll go in and weld it.
Well, we know our weak point is going to be that pin anyway.
Yeah, so, I do want to get some MIP stuff and change that out for MIP. I know MIP is pretty decent with their SCX10 stuff, and I want to go MIP with the drive shafts anyways. I'm going to have to do some extended fuckery with it. But I'll piece together a kit just to do that.
Yeah. Just
so it's a solid drive line.
All right, so going from here, we know we had the issue of we needed to get our gear reduction going. And this is the part where everybody's going to cry.
I do have the Robinson Racing steel spur. I just don't like the plastic. I stripped the plastic one a long time ago when this was still a Wraith. And so I just went ahead and upgraded to that. I know that was one of the first things that everybody told me to do. And I was running a 13-tooth pinion as well, and it ran really well.
So as you can see here, this is the spur gear.
Yep.
I can grab it, and it rotates. So we have a connection. How I made that connection is going to make a lot of you cry, right?
It's definitely...
So I have an Arrma Kraton, all right, and when I traded Gary the Slash, I pulled the Mamba Monster X and the Castle 2650 censored brushless motor out of it.
Yeah, their new censored 8-scale combo.
So I put it in my Kraton. Well, I was dumb. He told me to send it, and we locked the motor up. So I didn't feel like trying to go through all the trouble of sending it to Castle and having them do all the, not really any work on it, but giving me a credit for it and all that. No. So
more trouble than
more trouble than it's worth. So the motor was just hanging around here, and at first we tried sitting this here, having it on the motor mount with the pinion on it, and then have this connect to it.
There it went in the floor.
But we ran into the issue where it's a what? 3 mil shaft?
3.5, I believe. I can't remember.
It's loose. All right, that wouldn't have worked too well because Yeah, you tighten down a set screw, and that thing will just be weeble wobbling all over the dang place.
I told him it would give it a good shake when it when it was running.
No. So the 2650 we sacrificed. So hand me the camera.
It looks normal.
It looks normal, but as you can see, we had the clearance up here to miss the transmission.
Which really all I did for that is I used my grinder with a flap disc on it and just basically shaved off the heat sink fins.
And a little bit of the casing itself.
And it doesn't need it because it's a locked up motor. It's dead.
Yeah, what we did is I took the armature out and pulled all of the magnets off of
Which
it.
if you look up,
yeah, they're
on the door.
On the Illuminati door. So this is the part that's going to make a lot of you cry. And we cut the motor to pieces. All right. You can't. Oh, stop. So you can see. Get a.
I was gonna get a pointer.
So you can see right there, we cut out a good portion of it.
Let me switch back to. There you go.
So we cut out a good portion of it. You can see the apprentice mark there, and ended up cutting it back to
right here.
Yeah, to just at the fin.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it stops right at the first fin. Yep.
Yeah.
Right up against it.
Stops right at the first fin, and we had to do a little bit more clearancing for the
lower link.
Yeah, for the lower link right here. We had to cut a little bit. Focus. We had to cut a little bit more out of it. You can see how it's flat right there. But it bolted up. We have the pinion right there. And we have just enough to grab onto with
the motor shaft.
With the motor, we have enough on the motor shaft to grab onto with the drive shaft stuff. Which, if you notice, let me switch it back. So you see here, it's got this little step on it, right there. We had to cut that step off to allow for some clearance.
And then you had to
give
that like a chamfer.
Yeah, I had to chamfer it a little bit so it actually clear the gear. So, but all in all, I think this is a good start to where we wanted to go with this, to try something different. The motor plate, it's gonna be a minute before I actually get that made, because I don't go back to class until January 7th anyway. But our uncle just recently acquired him a 3D printer, and we're thinking about trying to 3D print a motor plate for temporary use.
If we can at least get a motor plate 3D printed, we can use that as our pseudo template to make our aluminum one, or have our aluminum made from the CNC class up at our local community college. And then right here, I would like to get a 5mm shaft, kind of machined, and then have a flat spot on it, and then a hole in the center through that shaft, so I can have a bearing on the inside, and outside. Probably a shaft about that long, and then make a little box to bolt into where the motor mount is supposed to bolt. So that way we can still have our adjustments, so we can kind of play around with some pinions, and then that way it'll have some bearings in there for that shaft to spin on. And then that center hole that's going to be through the shaft will hold a pin that will probably be Loctited in with some green Loctite or something like that, or maybe welded on, I'm not sure yet. Just so that way the shaft can't slide out, and because the backside of the casing will be solid anyways, it can't slide out the backside either. Of course, that when we get to there, we'll figure out more details of that.
Now, I mentioned that I pulled the magnets out of the armature here, and we did check it before we put it all together. The shaft is free spinning. There is no interference with any of the magnets. So when you spin the shaft, it'll spin as free as the bearings are, and there's really no extra resistance to speak of. You have the extra resistance of a couple of bearings, and having to make
really
that.
It's not going to be any worse than that box we're going to make anyways.
Yeah,
it's basically just a tube with some bearings in it at this point. I mean,
yeah,
with the magnets off of the armature being taken out, there's no magnetic force in there anymore, and they were They were so dead. Really, I don't know how it was locked up. Anyways, but you couldn't turn it. You had to put a pair of vice grips on it and really grab it to turn it.
Yeah, and even that was a chore.
Yeah,
but
and
as you see, we removed the motor wires. What we're going to do is probably solder those onto here.
So I can use...
So we're going to run Sidewinder.
Sidewinder, it's a Sidewinder 8th. It's the 1/8 scale Sidewinder combo that came out long ago.
That was the first ESC put in the Slash.
Yep, I got it used for $80. I got this and the 2200 motor that matched it.
Yeah.
Which it's running around somewhere. I don't exactly remember where.
This one? Nope.
No, you still have it because it was in the Creighton.
Yeah, that was this one.
Oh, I don't know where the Sidewinder 8th motor went.
Actually, no, I bought this one when I...
Yeah, that was the second one you bought.
Yeah.
That motor had gone out. We had messed it up because remember now it's got on the front side. Where'd that motor go? On this front plate, the bearing where the bearing seats on the inside would not hold the bearing anymore. It would literally fall out every time that motor would turn. So it didn't have any problems operating, but the bearing wouldn't stay in. So I made a very thin sheet metal plate and put it on the inside and used 2 out of 4 of the screw holes to mount that inside plate. And then I made it to where when these screws go through, it actually pulls that plate closer to this so that it doesn't flare out on either side.
But that's the update for this. A lot of people are going to yell at us for doing this.
Cutting that Castle motor.
Yeah, cutting the Castle motor. But it was my motor. It's my decision.
Castle's going to throw it in the trash. They're going to chuck it up as a loss. Well, for us. They're going to be like, oh, motor's fried, throw it in the trash. They won't even save motor wires off of it. And so with this, we're getting a good use out of it. A temporary use, albeit, but a good use. And with the motor wires, with us keeping it, we keep the motor wires, which is what I'm going to use. I'm going to solder those onto here so I can use it with this because these do not fit.
Yeah, it's like these are what does Castle use, like a 6 mil?
No, I think they use 7. I don't remember.
But it's just a couple mil too small to actually fit down in there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the update and surprise for this rig. So next is going to be motor plate and some electronics, and give it some go juice.
I'm gonna experiment a little bit more with it with the shocks. I've got the RC 4-wheel drive King shocks, 110 mil. And I know I can get different springs for it, but I need something that's stiff. This truck is heavy. I've got factory / 4-wheel drive springs in the back, or shocks, and it's much better, but it does still have a lot of give. I may see if I can find a really stiffer spring to put it back here, or find a thick shock. I'd like something like a GTR shock that has a good spring rate that I'm not looking for a whole lot of flex. This thing is more of just a trail, not even really a trail truck. I can't classify it as that. It's too heavy. Definitely not a comp truck. These tires are massive. These are the RC 4-wheel drive 2.2 IROC. Not IROC. Rock Locks, I believe. Yeah. No, IROC Super Swampers. That's what they are. That's right.
Yeah.
These are the big 2.2 Super Swampers. They are massive tires.
It's still going to be a crawler hauler of sorts.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting this trailer over here ready for. I'm kind of doing this, fixing up this trailer. You saw that in the last video I did an update on. So I'm making that trailer to work with this, because this I'm going to get the big 8-scale 4-wheel drive RC 4-wheel drive winch to put on the front here, and this one will be going on the back, and I'm going to be making a tow truck out of it. A big old 8-scale tow truck. For what reason, I have no damn clue. Just
because we can.
I think it would look cool with this cab. But with that bed, that steel bed that I had back here, it was just way too heavy. And that's kind of what fried that motor. That
axial motor. Well, that's it, guys.
Yeah. If you have any questions, leave a comment down there. If you like what you see, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike. Doesn't bother me either way. I'm not getting paid for this video. Keep an eye out for me on Facebook. Gary Maddox. I'm in several groups on Facebook. If you haven't, like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or if you know me on Facebook, just ask me in Messenger. I do post things to these groups after or before I post these videos asking questions, because I'm not a professional at this. I still have questions myself. So
questions like, why in the hell are we doing this?
No, questions like, the shock questions.
Yeah.
I am still going to ask about like an 8-scale motor plate, see what people think about that.
I can tell you what they think about it. No.
From what I saw on Google and all these RC forums, that people are not happy about running 8-scale.
It's raining and I got to drive home.
It's starting to rain. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to go to bed so I can go play Pokemon Go later. Brother's got to go to bed because it's like 7 hours past his bedtime.
Yeah. Past few days I've been doing good. Been going to sleep at 10, waking up at about 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So 11, 12 hours of sleep. And they say too much extra sleep is going to kill you, so I'm gunning for it.
Right there with you. So anyways, we'll give you an update on this later. This will be down for a while. It means I get to experiment with it a little bit more.
A lot more bench testing.
Yeah, I mean, the bench testing is going to be down for a while until we get a motor plate at least made. Because I can run it like this. This is not a big deal. We'll just have to see what happens. And by that time, I may try to get some more upgrades as far as drive line all the way across. I'd like to get some Vanquish axles so it'll handle this kind of torque, because I don't see these plastic housings holding up.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. We'll catch y'all later.